Yo, this is WSoul13 bringing you Raid Shadow Legends. And today we're going to be talking about the dupe system, right? So what is the dupe system for Raid Shadow Legends? Is it going to be good for free-to-play or low spender? We'll see. Alright, so let's go. First of all, let's get all of that settled down. Alright. What is the dupe system going to be? The video's out, right? So Plarium put the video out already. And if you haven't seen it yet, just go to their main YouTube page. It should be there. So I won't do the things other content creators do, which is they play the video, give you the reaction, you know. I don't think anybody wants to look at my face that long. Anyway, I think it's like a 17-minute video. It's a pretty long video, right? So what are they going to do exactly? So look at Sparring Pit right here. Look at how it's kind of like it doesn't look as well developed as the rest of the raid, kind of like Citadel or Castle or whatever. And the reason why apparently is that it isn't fully developed, and we are going to get a major development on Sparring Pit. Instead of seeing this, when you click on it, you're going to see a bunch of tabs on the side, and it's going to look a lot like this. It's Great Hall. Great Hall 2.0, right? How do I feel about this? I think Plarium has done it again. They've done exactly what they should do in a game like this, which is quicken the gap from early gamer to mid gamer to end game, right? So how do I define early game, mid game, or end game in Raid Shadow Legends? So people define it differently. I'll give you my exact definition. Early game is you focusing only on leveling up champs and getting masteries. So once you've hit Minnow 15, so once you're farming Minotaur 15, I consider you to be in the mid game, because by then you're going to be transitioning very soon to Dragon 16 and then stage 13 dungeons everywhere else. So my free-to-play low-spender team building guide is based on the idea of getting you through the early game to the mid game as quickly as possible, right? So that is the point of what I do with my free-to-play low-spender guide. So I want you guys to get the mid game as soon as possible. And the best way to do that, in my humble opinion, is to do what I call the F2P Trinity, which is on your first 30 days that you're playing the game, you're going to be focused on your starter. It doesn't matter who you pick. For most people, the best choice is Kale, obviously, right? And your starter is going to end up being your campaign farmer, but you're going to be building him more for HP and speed, right? So you want 170 speed, lots of HP. It's going to be 30k at first, but eventually you want it at 40k, right? But for 30k to start, this is fine. And then 10 accuracy for every dungeon you're trying to beat. So for Minnow 15, it's going to be 150-ish, right? Then for Dragon 16, it's going to be 160 at least. And to get to 20, it's over 200, right? So, what about War Maiden? That's piece number 2 of the F2P Trinity. This is where the dupe system really, really begins to shine, in my opinion. So the first option for dupe system right now is that you're going to be able to do a Great Hall like bonus that you're going to be stacking with champions from the same faction. I don't think they specifically said duplicates, but just champions of a rarity per faction. So it's divided by rarity. So it's going to be rare, epic, and then legendary. And then I think it's going to be 2 for each bonus, all the way up to 8 bonuses, I think. 4 bonuses. It's going to be HP. Then I think Is it HP defense, then accuracy and resistance, and then speed, something like that. The gains are not bad. It is not bad at all. So one of the first gains is +7 on accuracy and +7 on resistance for rare characters. That is huge. All right. So let's go to the Great Hall real quick, just to kind of make you guys understand how big a bonus that is. All right. So let's go to accuracy. Okay. So let's say you're just starting out the game and you're putting in your accuracy. Most likely it has to be on your poisoner, right? That's just the way it is. So whichever your poisoner is, so let's say it's Kale, you got to put it on blue, most likely. So for most people, everybody starts buffing their accuracy on magic affinity. And look at this. So after spending, what is this? 50, 150, 300, 500 bronze medals. So your first 500 bronze medals are most likely going to go to accuracy, right? After spending that, you will be up to +15 accuracy. Okay? If you do the Dupe champion system, whatever it is they're going to call it, the Dupe Great Hall. Sounds horrible, doesn't it? Anyways, if they do that, you're going to get an extra +7 on top of this. So now you're up to +22. You can do this really early in the game, honestly. Very, very early in the game, you'll be able to do this. And if you think about it, getting, I don't know, that and a +5 accuracy if you just hit the first level, or +10 if you hit the second level, getting +17 accuracy early in the game is a big deal. Big deal. Especially considering that, what's that called? The accuracy and speed. Perception gear is available, right? So you can do 3 or 4 star perception gear, whatever. Like as top pieces, 4-star pieces of gear as top pieces are not bad at all, right? So you can do it that way, combine it with that, and then now you have some speed and accuracy gear along with an extra +17, +22 accuracy. And then at the top end of it is another +3 speed. So for the rares, that is a big deal. Since you're going to be farming for War Maiden a lot early in the game, right? So I'm just saying this is kind of like a progression thing for a new player, how valuable this actually is. So for a new player, you're going to be spending your first month practically farming the Deadlands. So on the Deadlands, you have a chance to drop War Maiden and what is this called? Berserker, right? So at first, before, every time you drop Berserker ended up being food. Okay? War Maiden was the one you wanted because you wanted copy so you could book up her A3? Yes. So you want at least 4 extra copies of War Maiden to try to book up this A3, right? So what do you do with your excess Berserkers? Now you put him into that. Oh, I remember what it's called. It's called a Faction Guard, right? So how it works is it's going to be per faction. Per faction, it's going to be based on rarity. So if you want to boost War Maiden stats, you're going to have to put in extra Barbarian rares. I don't think it really matters if it's a dupe or not, the way they explained it. I'm not sure on that one. Don't quote me. But if it does end up being that way, then it's going to be Berserkers, right? So your extra Berserkers are going to go there. You're going to fill that up very quickly. And you're going to get +7 accuracy on War Maiden and also +3 speed, right? So her base speed is actually not bad, 97. But that +7 accuracy is really, really good early in the game. You combine that with some accuracy glyphs you pick up, maybe an accuracy roll somewhere on your top pieces of gear, right? Or maybe even like accuracy set or perception set. And you're looking at an easy +40 from accuracy set, and then +22 from your Great Hall and that dupe rare bonus. So that's 62 already. And if you get 1 or 2 rolls from your top roll of gear, that's another 20, 30 accuracy. You're looking at like 100 accuracy with like very minimal effort, you know? Not to mention your masteries, right? And as your Great Hall gets better, it'll be easier to get that accuracy up. So I think the dupe system is a great thing for progressing players. For the mid game and end game F2P players, you're not really going to be looking at the legendary tier of a faction, right? I mean, you're talking about 8 extra legendaries. Well, I don't think it really has to be extras because the way they word it is you can use any champ and they will be playable still while they're acting as a guard. So you can have them post up as a guard there, and then they still play in the game the regular way you always play them, right? But you get the bonuses. So for legendaries, the bonuses are pretty sick. It's plus 30 accuracy and resistance, and then plus 10 speed, I think. So those are sick bonuses. Most likely, most of us will not be able to get to that 8th legendary of a faction, you know. That's kind of hard to do. But an 8th epic of a faction is very, very doable once you start hitting, once you're finished with mid-game, you hit end-game. So, well, how do I define end-game, right? So for most people, they define end-game as you get Arbiter. That's end-game. For me, I define end-game as being able to farm end-game gear. And that's Dragon's 20. So Dragon's 20 is where you farm end-game gear. Once you're at Dragon's 20, you're literally at the endgame already because you're farming for endgame gear. And then you kind of really ramp up really quickly from Dragon's 20. You know, you hit like Nightmare Clan boss really quickly. Then you're going to be able to do Ice Golem 20 very shortly after Dragon's 20. And then Fire Knight and Spiders is all about just developing the right champs for it and then getting them geared out, right? But definitely, the gear sets you get from Dragon's 20 is going to be like the majority of the most important mid-game gear you'll need, right? So it's really up to you. For a lot of people, they define it as you get Arbiter, that's when the end game begins, because now you're going to be participating in Arena in your max capacity, because you're going to have the best Arena boost, speed booster available in the game, which is Arbiter. And, you know, for most of us, the epics are where it's at. So I think for the epics, it's something like plus 15 accuracy and then plus 5 or plus 7 in speed? Something like that. Something like that. It's really, really good. Great bonuses all around. All right. So that settles the faction guards, which are great. You know, I think they're a great addition to the game. It, like I said, it closes that gap between early, mid-game, and then mid-game to end-game. All good things for a game like this that's been out a couple of years now. They need to close up that gap so the new players can understand what we're talking about a lot earlier, right? They don't have to spend the first 180 days just figuring out the game. They can do like their first month practically being the same as the rest of us in our first month. But by their second month, they're already ramping up really fast. You know, not like us. We'll be stuck in that bringing up champions mode for the first, I don't know, 60, 90 days or whatever, right? So what are they doing after all of that? The second thing they're doing is the increased stats. All right, so I'm going to show you something real quick because I just pulled an extra Geomancer, which I'm going to be saving now. All right, so if you haven't known this, if this was not known to you, the general advice before was to keep one copy of each rare, and definitely keep one copy of each epic. And what ended up happening was rares were taken off as a regular part of fusion events. So it used to be the rares were part of fusion events. So if you kept one copy of each rare, you had a very good chance of keeping a rare they were going to use for the fusion. But now all they do is put out all new rares all the time. So it's very hard to get the exact copy of the rare, right? Obviously, it's impossible if it's new. And then for the epics, they started rolling out new epics as well. But of course, nobody is going to sacrifice an epic as food, especially if you only have one copy of that epic. Also, that the power creep is on the epic side. So, although in the champion rebalance we didn't really get any epic buffs, so that might be a signal of things to come. They might have softened their position on the epics a little bit, but hear me out here. Hear me out. If you're an endgame F2P low spender player, you are gonna want to keep dupes of epics now, especially the good ones. So I'll show you some examples of some really strong epics that you should keep dupes of. One was that, Geomancer. Another one you'll be looking for is somebody like Umbral. Rearguard Sergeant would be a good one. Caden isn't bad. Tyrell, definitely. So why am I pointing this out right now? Well, what I'm trying to say is that what the second part of the dupe system is, you're going to be able to crunch a dupe. Instead of turning it into a book, you give your champ like a slight stat boost. The slight, we don't know how slight it is. The slight stat boost has yet to be explained. And honestly, it doesn't seem like they've opened this option for legendaries, for non-legendaries, because it looks like it was just for legendaries. You know, when they demoed it, they just did it on a legendary. They picked Raglan, I think. I think it's safe to just kind of keep the epics in your vault. So for F2P low spenders, most of us, our vaults are going to look something like this, right? It's all epics that we don't use. And they're probably leveled up to 40 through the sparring pit. That's what I do. And I think definitely if they are going to open up this option of getting a stat boost for crunching an epic, it might be a better use of a dupe epic instead of using it as an epic book. Just something to think about, right? So I think that might be a nice little opportunity for F2P low spenders to get through some of those thresholds right now. So forget competing with the whales here, right? I mean, I understand the first reaction is like, oh, well, I'm not going to have 4 dupes of Dracomorph or 4 dupes of Rotos or 4 dupes of Tormund or 4 dupes of Arbiter or whatever, right? It don't matter, dude. Seriously, the game is mostly PvE. Mostly. Even PvP is actually kind of PvE because it's kind of on a set roster and you play against an AI, right? You're not playing against people here. It's mostly a solo game. And what they do is they give us a chance to try to improve our guys with our duplicate of other guys. I think it's a great idea, and I think it's not as bad as people think. We haven't seen the stat boost yet, so we don't know how big the gap is going to be, you know. But I think for a player, let's say you're having a hard time breaking through Doom Tower and just need that little bit of extra speed, like a +5 speed or +10 speed, or some extra stat boost in your def or HP, base def, base HP, you know, this might be a big deal. Might be. We don't know. We won't know yet how big a deal this is going to be. And then finally, what they're going to do is they're going to do something like what they do in Clan right now. Right. So there's Clan Shop, and you're going to be able to buy Champion Fragments, right? Although I'm not sure if they're fragments, honestly. So let me scratch that real quick. What they're going to try to do is, or something like the Bazaar, right? Before when we have the Bazaar. But I think right now, I've already bought my Drexar, so we're just going to put it on the Clan Shop because that's kind of what it's going to look like. It's going to look like squares like this, and there's going to be like champions you can go for. And right now, they're thinking about giving us Minaya, Fushan, Santa, and then 2 other fusion events from before, fusion Legos from before. I think Molly Tankard and Foley. So what do you think about that? First of all, Foley is actually pretty good in Arena as a nuker, as an anti-control champ. He's also not bad in Faction Wars. I mean, you know, he's not amazing, but he's not bad there. A nuker in Faction Wars isn't bad. Molly Tankard, though, is almost an absolute must-have for Faction Wars. So for Faction Wars and Dwarves, you really want a Reviver, right? And the other one that isn't Molly is an epic named, it's not Gala. It's, man, I forgot her name. Melga. Melga, I think Steel Girdle, right? So, you want a Reviver. This is a way for you to get Molly. We don't know what the exchange rate is going to be, right? So I don't know if it's going to take 3 Legos or 5 Legos or whatever. But now, everybody of us that have all these Fusion Legos that we currently don't use or haven't figured out how to use yet, so, right? Especially the ones from certain factions. Let's go from faction first real quick. So something like High Elves. So with High Elves, you can finish Faction Wars with literally just Arbiter. Arbiter and a bunch of other guys. So somebody like Pixneal could be a prime person for me to try to sacrifice, try to get another Fusion Lego, a Fusion Lego that I may have missed, like Molly Tankard if I needed Molly, Foley if I wanted Foley, Santa if I wanted Santa, right? Saint Nick. So I think even that part of the dupe system is going to end up being beneficial to the F2P low spender in the long run if you play in these fusion events, right? So this kind of fuels my mentality about the game, which is if you're F2P or low spender, you play the fusion events no matter what. Legendaries are the most important resource in a champion-specific game. A game that requires specific kind of stats, specific kinds of abilities, and where champions are divided by rarity, the rarest champions are going to be the most useful ones. That's just kind of the average math of it, right? And you having all these fusion champs, so let's say you played a whole year and you had like a year's worth of fusion champs, you'd have 12 legendaries. And every time you pull the Lego, you could be a dupe of that. It could be a dupe of that fusion champ you drew that you don't like or you don't really use for anything else. And now you can build. Now you can kind of like store them away and trade them for an older fusion that you may have missed, or maybe a legendary that they're putting there right now. Minaya and Fushan, not really the prime legendaries people are looking for. So I don't know, maybe they'll do like a limited thing where you can get something much more valuable, or at least an upgrade, right? But the idea of putting the older fusion champs there, how they could expand this, in my view, is probably just make all the fusion champs they've ever made available through that shop. So just kind of make like the fusion legendaries as kind of like the legendary light champs. They're not as good as the top tier legendaries, but some of them are really, really good on their own. Iron Brago, Underpriest Brogni, Krila, Tormund, right? Rotos, So if they make it like that, where those champs are available, it could be really good. It could be really good. So how do you prepare for this? You prepare for this by kind of playing the same way. Same way I told you to play. That's how you prepare for this. You play the fusion events. You use the sparring pit. You level up your epics. You store your epics somewhere. The rares will come. So don't feel like you have to be in a rush to fill up those rares for the factions or whatever. You're gonna fill those out eventually, because that's just the way it is. You're gonna do a 40 ancient shard summoning session for 2x event, for champ chase, for a fusion event. You're going to end up with 35 rares that you're not going to use. That's just the way it is. Easy to fill up those slots. So try not to be in this kind of like, oh, I got to rush to fill all these slots. It's going to happen. You don't have to pull extra shards for it, nothing. Just play the game the way you always play. So for me, the main signal I want to send out to you guys is stay the course, play the fusions, rack up the legendaries. We'll see. We'll see how that third option develops. If we can turn it into something more useful, like Tormund, that would be extremely beneficial for a lot of people to have a Tormund Rotos, if they wanted Rotos. Like I said, Under Priest Brogni, Iron Brago, all them people. Yeah, that'll be a great way to kind of like open up the game, especially for the people that have missed those fusion events. Another thing I'm thinking about too is actually the dupe system itself. So, I actually do have some pretty good dupes. And a couple of them are, let's go back to rank. We're going to close this off with this because you're not going to play this game for too long without running into this problem. The same one I had, which is you're going to pull a dupe of a fusion champ. It sucks, but it's going to happen. So, who did I pull? Fusion champs I pulled. Brachus. I was never able to do Brachus as a fusion event. But can you imagine if I did do Brachus, one of the harder ones to do, if not the hardest one, if my memory serves me, and you pull a dupe of him? That sucks, right? Another dupe fusion champ I pulled is Rotos, you know. And then I think I got Kreela, and then I think that's it. What does this mean? What does this mean? This means that they could give my fusion champs a stat boost. So one of the things that make fusion champs pretty amazing is their legendaries. Yeah, I mean, so what? They're legendaries. Well, the so what there is the base stats. Look at these monster base stats right here. So at some point, even somebody like Meme Lord Vargal over here, with those base stats, I mean, look at that. 107 speed, 80 resist, 50 accuracy on the base stats. You know, those are sick base stats. At some point, if we can improve any of these base stats for the price of a very much unwanted dupe Scarlord Valgal, we're gonna have to be low spender. That could be like prime material right there, you know? Because at some point, it's going to be about stats with these champs. I mean, you know, everybody understands this. Somebody like Under Priest Brogni, you can make him a lot better for Doom Tower, especially once you get harder Doom Tower stuff, you know. So, it really does play into exactly what they've been doing with the game, which is flooding the game with fusion champs, increasing your chances of pulling duplicate fusion champs, then possibly letting you get the fusion champs you missed, all with your duplicates. I think those are all positive things, very positive things. I don't see it as, oh, this is going to widen the gap between you and a whale. Guess what, playa? The gap is insurmountable already enough as it is. Come on now. Let's stop pretending like there was ever going to be something that can be done to shorten the gap between a F2P low spender and an actual freaking whale in this game. You know, the whales in this game do whatever they want because whatever, yeah, trust fund money, or they're really rich, they're hackers, whatever it is that they do in real life that gets them all these resources, digital resources, right? It's nowhere near. Look at this. Look at this right here. Right? Can I cancel out of that? Look at my top guy right there in my Fire Knight tournament bracket. These aren't even crazy numbers. Some people will probably see like 10K plus, 15K plus, 20K plus points, right? Whatever. The point is, how am I going to compete with something like that? 2,800 points, you know? Even if I doubled that, I'd still need to double again from there. So I'm going to go from 5,000 to 10,000 to possibly beat this number one guy, right? These are the guys who we play against every single day, every single month. How is it different from what we already have now if they get these stat boosts, right? Don't think about it that way. Think about it like this game is PvE and I am being given a chance to turn useless assets into something very useful. Stat boost for champs I use. You know? So hopefully it comes out soon. Honestly, you gotta start diamond handing these shards for the fusion events, obviously. And also your duplicates, start diamond handing them. Don't use them as epic books. Don't use them as legendary books. Don't use them as food. Just keep them in your vault, and we'll see what happens from there. All right, guys, we'll see y'all next time.